Okay, it is, the floor is open for questions for test 5, study guide for chapters 29, 30, 31, 32, and 35. How many have done their study guide?
Partially,
Worked on it?
yes.
Headed in the right direction? Question.
15.
15 says epicuticle and procuticle. Well, these cuticles constitute, they make up the actual total cuticle of an arthropod exoskeleton, those two together. They constitute the exoskeleton of the arthropod, or they would actually say the integument of the arthropod, is how the book says it. They constitute the integument of the arthropod. Hopefully we got it right. 15.
15, I was
Say that one more time.
They constitute the integument of an arthropod. Did you get that one? Did you have it right?
Yes.
All right. 17. Tanning of human skin.
Does it just like causes cancer and aging?
Well, it does, but how the skin tans is the question.
So like the formation of melanin.
It's the melanocytes producing the melanin that gives the tanning view, or the tanning, what's the term I'm looking for? Look to the skin. The darkening of the skin caused by melanocytes producing melanin. Melanin is a skin darkening pigment. It's supposed to provide more protection against more sun in the future, although some indications, some research shows it provides very little. You can be extremely tan and go to Florida and still get skin cancer.
How about 27?
Number 27. Use of the hump on camels as to hang on when they're running through the desert. Well, they claim it serves as concentrated food reserve. Concentrated food reserve. And, which makes a good point. Why would a camel have it all in one area where our animals here have food reserve scattered throughout, all over? It's fat reserves, what it is,
So they won't be hot?
so they can dissipate heat better, because fat serves as an insulation. And our animals here need that in the wintertime. Camels don't deal with a lot of wintertime. Bring them here, they get cold in the winter. You don't see many up north. Next question.
32.
Number
Sorry.
30. Salt concentrations of coastal invertebrates. Well, coastal invertebrates, this is kind of brackish water. This is a mixture of salt and fresh water, but it's closer to fresh water than salt water. Lots of fluctuation here. These invertebrates will have a higher salt content in their body than the water around them. So they're considered hyperosmotic regulators. More salt inside of them than their surroundings. Hyperosmotic regulators.
Number 12.
Number 12. Oh, we're backsliding here. Simple squamous epithelium.
Really? No, mine numbers are messed up. It's really actin and myosin.
Oh, my number 11 then.
Yeah.
Actin and myosin are contractile proteins that slide past one another when a muscle contracts. Contractile proteins. That slide past one another when a muscle contracts.
short definition and you'll know what I wrote.
You should have it covered.
Mine
You
was
probably
the same.
wrote things like myosin is the thicker of the two, actin's the thinner. Actin may lie above myosin, myosin tends to block actin, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
How
Well,
about-
look at all the extra knowledge you picked up because of one little question. I'm doing my job, y'all making me feel good.
32.
13?
32.
Oh, man, 13 was easy. Is that the metanephric kidney?
Yes.
Meta means many. Many nephrons is what that means. And metanephric kidney is what our kidney is called. So this is the kidney found in mammals. How many nephrons does one of our kidneys have? A bunch. Will not be a choice on the test. About 1 million. 1 million nephrons per kidney.
Twenty-one.
21. The age at which you're legal to drink. Oh, no, that's not what it says. Is it? Salt concentration of hyperosmotic regulator. Well, which other one did we just talk about like that?
30.
Yeah, it's
So-
very similar to that. 30 was a hyperosmotic regulator. So the salt concentration of this is they have more salt in their body than the water around them, than the fluid around them.
So what is that?
Higher salt concentration in the animal than the water around them.
How about 59?
Did we have that many? 59. Where does protein digestion begin? Is that what it's asking?
Yeah, it just says beginning of protein digestion.
I had a little flow chart up there last week.
The small intestine.
It's not correct.
No.
That's where it finishes.
Oh.
Everything finishes.
Oh, in the mouth.
Nope, look for protein.
Oh,
Stomach.
protein.
Stomach.
Okay.
Stomach is where protein digestion begins.
Is 50 just hemoglobin?
Bound to hemoglobin. See, my answer was longer than yours that time.
What's the question? I didn't-
50.
50.
How is oxygen
Bound to
carried?
hemoglobin.
So you should be real close to 49 or 51. I'm not sure how that got off, but I must have tweaked it somewhere.
And 61 is fat?
61. What pancreatic juices digest? Is that it? Basically everything. Proteins, carbohydrates, lipids, which is fats. This is number 61. The pancreas produces an enzyme for nearly every type of food we eat. Now they're inactive when they're produced, and the brush border enzymes in the small intestine activate them, and what the pancreas doesn't produce, the brush border in the small intestine does. But it's pretty much got it covered.
And we need to know we need to know the whole pathway of blood through the heart.
Yes,
Okay.
what we have in our notes, if you know that pathway of blood, you'll answer several questions.
Okay.
Now, I don't have a question that says for you to write down the pathway, but I might as well have, because you're gonna need to know it, just to, where is blood going when it leaves the left ventricle? Aorta. Yep, headed to the arteries through the aorta. Where is blood going when it leaves the right ventricle?
Pulmonary.
Through the valve to
Pulmonary
what next
artery.
major organ here?
The lungs.
The lungs. pulmonary artery, lungs. So if you know those pulmonary artery, the next major organ, if lungs is a choice and pulmonary artery is not, then you got it, see? So we go through vessels on a mission to get somewhere. Next question.
What exactly are you wanting on 39, what it says type O blood?
39, type O blood. Well, O in general is the universal donor. But let's say you had type O blood, what blood can you receive from? If you need a transfusion, who can you take blood from?
Oh, and.
We're just saying O. We're not throwing negatives and positives in there right now. So O takes from O. That's it. Even A blood and B blood carry recessive O. And there are dominant A's and dominant B's, very, very few. Most all blood types carry recessive O, except AB, and sometimes it even carries a recessive O attached to it. So, if you have A, somebody says you have A blood, you really have AO blood. If somebody says you have B blood, you have BO. That's the reason you can take O. Unless they tell you otherwise. So O takes O. Next question.
What did you want to know about kidney of the shark?
What number?
Around 25.
Around number 25 somewhere.
24.
24? Kidney of the shark does not eliminate urea, so it can maintain blood concentration equal to that of seawater concentration.
Does not eliminate what?
Urea. See, it tries to equal the osmolality of salt in its body compared to salt outside. So unlike other marine bony fish, of course this is a cartilaginous fish, but unlike other marine fish who constantly are losing water and have to drink it back, he doesn't have to do any of that because he's got an equality there. Now, he sinks when he stops swimming, but you can't always have your cake and eat it too.
Number 69.
Number 69. Would that be beginning of the process of urine formation? That would start in the glomerulus of the nephron, and pressure filtration. That's where urine formation begins. Glomerulus with pressure filtration.
And 71, reasons for large amount of urine.
71, reasons for large amount of urine. Well, you could always use our general rule. The more you drink, the more you pee. So drinking lots of water. You could also have low production of ADH. And we could even throw in aldosterone. We can make other stuff up as we go as well. But low ADH, which is anti-diuretic, and drinking lots of water. Drinking higher amounts of fluid will create more urine.
High fluid intake and low production.
Low ADH will cause you to produce more urine. Because a diuretic is a water pill, right? It'll make you pee more. So if your body's producing anti-diuretic, it's gonna help conserve. So low amounts of that, higher volume of urine. What else? I hope some of you that have not even looked at your study guide does so before Thursday. Would that be you?
Sort of.
You're a bad student.
Well, I got mixed up on the study guide, so I did chapter for test 5, I think.
This is
Or
test 5.
test 4 then.
So you didn't even recognize stuff we've lectured over this whole time? Oh, this is sad. one thing about it, you're a step ahead to test for. Always a positive side of it, unless you did a chapter we don't even have a test on.
And the strongest vertebrate connective tissue is loose.
Strongest vertebrate connective tissue,
What number is that? 13.
number 13 is actually bone.
On, mine's 27, temperature compensation, I don't think that's it.
It's 26 on mine.
Okay.
Temperature compensation, that's the process of adjusting metabolic rates to prevailing temperatures. The example I gave on that was the African eland.
What
So,
number?
this is number, what'd I say, 26?
26.
Process of adjusting metabolic rates to the prevailing temperature. And if you recall, the African eland would lower his body temperature and metabolism enough at night to be a couple degrees below his normal body temperature when it was cooler. So by the time midday hit, he was just now hitting normal body temperature, and so he just had a half a day to fight off the heat. And he'd end up 1 or 2 degrees above normal, but he'd use panting and sweating. He's another one that has a reserve of fat in one place instead of all over the body, so they can actually sweat. And by the time darkness hits, he can start this metabolic process, lowering his temperature throughout the night. Kinda makes sense? Okay, next question?
28.
28, how mammals and birds keep a constant body temperature? Well, they eat. There's several ways. If we may have food in our stomach, still get cold, right? Wouldn't you say though, food in the stomach sure does help a lot? Especially if it's something warm. On a cold day, you crave soup and chili and things like that, hot chocolate, coffee. No? Y'all are thinking something now, aren't you? Stew, maybe? How about venison stew? Pretty good. All right, other things that could happen as well, if you're cold enough, would you start shivering? You'd decrease conductance, which means you'd move blood away from the extremities. We already talked about in class what gets cold. Your fingers, your toes, your nose, your ears. And we decided those could actually freeze off, but you're still alive, because we decrease conductance there, because that really causes a lot of heat loss. And we conduct it to the internal organs where we maintain life. So decreased conductance, which is allowing the extremities to operate at lower temperatures. And of course shivering, that's muscle activity, muscle movement. And increasing heat production, which typically is an internal burning of stored energy or food sources. I think if you read that question and read all the answers, which I highly recommend you to do on every question, is read every answer. I think common sense should prevail on that one. If not, we could electrically probe part of your hypothalamus and see how you react.
That's okay.
We did that to monkeys. They're our closest cousins, you know.
What about animal complexity? Is this?
The bigger, the more complex. The bigger, the more efficient.
Okay.
There's two things there.
What
number
number
is
like
that?
half a page.
It's number 1.
Number one,
Oh,
the bigger the animal, the more complex. The bigger the animal, the more efficient they are.
I made that way too hard.
Mm-hmm,
Way,
me too.
Way too hard. I was like, what do you want?
Couple of paragraphs worth?
Yeah.
But look at all that stuff you learned. This way you get more added information for your money. This is a bargain class. Lucy, I don't wanna learn more than I have to. Don't limit your brain.
I'm trying to, but I just wanna get.
It's hard to figure out what you want on these.
That's why I have a study guide.
Wait,
Appendicular skeleton.
Yes.
What number?
9.
Number 9 for everybody. What makes up the appendicular skeleton? Anybody have it?
I put the whole body.
I'm gonna have to be a little more precise than that.
I have
Or there's like the arms and the clavicle.
Limbs,
Limbs, yeah.
pectoral and pelvic girdles. Pectoral, clavicle would be part of that, and pelvic girdles.
So it's the limb, pectoral, and pelvic.
Limbs, pectoral, and pelvic girdles. What else?
What about 43?
43. Oh my. That question is easy. I can't believe you asked it.
I think the whole blood thing is something.
Do you have an answer?
No?
That's why you asked it. You just didn't have an answer.
Yeah.
You have an answer? What'd you put?
Oxygen, nutrients, then regulates blood temperature.
The
Red blood
composition
cell.
of whole blood?
Mhm.
Seem like,
Red blood cells, white blood
Platelets, like
cells, and
plasma.
platelets. Is that one right? I wrote down 2 different things.
Like, is it wanting what's in it, or
you're
is it
all in the
wanting what makes
ballpark,
it?
but let me simplify this for you.
Go on.
There's 2 categories that make up the composition of blood. There's blood plasma and there's formed elements. Blood plasma makes up 55% of blood. What percent of that's water? 90. And that is actually on the first page of that chapter, or maybe the second page, but plasma makes up 55%, formed elements make up 45%. And then we talked about what makes up plasma, which is mainly water, but we had some proteins and gases. And then the formed elements were red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets.
What about 44?
44 lymphocytes. From the 3rd grade, what did you think lymphocytes does in the body? Or you hear the term white blood cells? Immunity.
I know.
That's what fights off the infections and stuff.
Immunity.
I put that for T4 cells.
T4, helper T4 cells? Helper T cells?
What number is that?
Definitely immunity, but it's more of a trigger to the immune response. But probably what you need to know about, what number is T4 cells?
73.
73. Probably what you need to know about those are the, since they are the trigger, they're the ones that the AIDS virus attacks and destroys. And if we were to take a gun and take the trigger off of it, will it work?
No.
Neither does your immune system. When a virus chews the trigger off of it, it's gone.
So that's what we need to know, is that it attacks the AIDS.
You wanna pull that trash can over there next to you so you can continue to spit seeds in there?
I'm done.
Are those just plain? I like the dill pickle.
I like the ranch.
Barbecues were.
Give me something hot. Hot dill pickle would be great. Jalapeno pickle.
I like the ranch.
That's a weird combination.
So T4 just AIDS.
AIDS virus attacks it.
You actually would have liked this year's batch of cucumbers, because my uncle, he planted the jalapeno peppers and the habanero peppers too close to our cucumbers. So our cucumbers are kind of warm this year.
Well, I didn't actually think it was possible for cucumbers, which, is of a different species and family than peppers. So, I didn't think that was possible. Now, cucumbers can cross with cantaloupe and watermelon,
Well, I don't know how it
because they're
happened.
all cutes, if you will.
Yeah. We
You
don't know.
you may have had some strange foreign bee come in and be able to cross-pollinate that, you reckon?
We don't know what happened my uncle just said, we were sitting there, we were cutting up and everything.
You sure they weren't just bitter?
No, they weren't bitter. But he's
They
had
had some
bites too.
sting to them.
Yeah.
You should save the seed from those, I like to have that. A hot cucumber. That's next to having a hot wife at home.
Wow.
That's good. What's next?
$56.
56. Okay. My 56 says components of bile. What makes up bile and what does it do?
Water, bile salts, and things. No enzymes.
You know, some of bile is cholesterol, it's salts, cholesterol is a salt. It's broken down red blood cells.
The iron.
And their purpose in digestion is to break up fat molecules. Most books will say emulsify fat, turn it into little bitty droplets.
You said red blood
Break
cells,
up
break
what?
it down?
Not the red blood cells, but bile is broken down red blood cells. It's
Oh,
red
okay.
blood cells recycled. When red blood cells die at 120 days, then the liver and the spleen break them down and make bile out of a lot of the broken down hemoglobin. And now it goes to the small intestine and breaks down fats, which are absorbed into lacteals, which goes through your lymph system, dumped back into your blood flow system, and goes and clogs a vessel somewhere. Isn't that nice to know?
Can you explain? I'm sorry.
40? Is that what you said?
Yeah.
40. Closed and open circulatory systems. What does it mean? A closed system,
You're confined to vessels. Stays within
the
itself.
fluid is confined to vessels. It takes less fluid and more pressure to get the job done. And you would find that in upper vertebrates in general. Most of your invertebrates have an open system, which means less pressure with more fluid. It's a direct flow into the tissues, no confinement. Got it?
Can you explain renin?
Renin is, and what number is it for everybody?
74.
Number 74, renin is, coming out of the digestive chapter, is a milk curdling enzyme found in ruminant animals like beef. So that calf can utilize milk properly. We used to take renin from the calves' stomachs and make cottage cheese and blue cheese and all kinds of cheese. Now we do it synthetically,
Can you
but
say that one more time, milk curdling enzyme found in?
ruminant animals.
About 68. I think you want to know
Kangaroo rat?
what's up with it.
What's up with the rat? Well, it's kind of where the rat lives, is what's up with the rat. Since he lives in such an arid environment, he has no water to drink. So he gets all of his water from its food. 90% as metabolic water from the breaking down of the food, and 10% as free moisture. 90% metabolic, 10% free. Next. these long study guides, we're not gonna do this much.
Thank you.
Yeah, did you put it up on there?
No, I'm not gonna review you, but they're still out there.
Oh, that's disappointing.
You don't have to do them.
54.
It's not mandatory. 54, true mastication. What is mastication?
Chewing.
Yep. Only occurs in mammals. We're the only ones that chew our food up, and we even argue that fact, we eat it so fast.
I don't think my son should.
Some people swallow it whole anyway. Too much salt. Next,
Did you wanna know anything specific about, the glomerulus and Bowman's capsule? Or just in?
what number would that be?
34 and 9.
34, be 33 for us. Well, that's definitely the first part of the nephron. This is where pressure filtration occurs. I think that covers it. It's the first portion of the nephrons where pressure filtration occurs.
About 34
Homeothermic, animals having constant body temperatures.
and then the other one's regular.
Ectothermic is where you take the temperature of the environment. Ecto referring to the outside temperature. That'd be us compared to a snake. Or a lizard,
So 35, they take the temperature of their environment?
yes. I think I spelled that wrong. Isn't that ectothermic? Is that how that's spelled? It's ectothermic. What else?
He's trying to do.
32 metanephric kidneys, one of the first ones we did today. That's our kidney. That's multiple nephron kidney.
Yeah, same.
29.
That sounds familiar too. No, we hadn't done that.
What number is this one now?
29, euryhaline animals. Euryhaline means they can tolerate a wide range of salinity, a wide range of salt. So they would certainly be ones that would live in brackish water where you'd get tides up, you'd get more salt. Tides down, you get less salt, but they can live in that same area dealing with that.
What number was that?
29. Anything else?
What do you wanna know out of 51? Like,
How carbon dioxide is carried? Majority of it's carried in the form of bicarbonate. There is some carried in the plasma, and there is some carried on red blood cells, but majority is carried in the form of bicarbonate. What occurs occurs in the walls of the capillaries. Well, capillaries is where exchange occurs, where it's exchange of picking up bad stuff, get rid of good. We have gas and nutrient exchange. Is there anything on the study guide about the contractile proteins? That would be the regulatory proteins, troponin and tropomyosin. Well, when we put the muscle contraction overhead, when we put that up and talked about it, remember troponin, calcium caused the release of troponin, which changed the shape of tropomyosin.
Oh, yes.
You remember the muscle contraction process? There is a troponin, tropomyosin, muscle contraction question on this test.
So what do we do about
66.
troponin then?
Yeah, it is 66.
It is number 66?
Yeah,
It says
it's troponin.
Okay. It's a calcium dependent switch. Calcium dependent switch. There's a lot of questions on the test concerning the hyperosmotic and hypoosmotic regulators. Marine bony fish out in salt water are hypoosmotic regulators. Freshwater fish are hyperosmotic regulators. The brackish water shore crab, which brackish water is a mixture, it's the same as a hyperosmotic regulator. So there's several questions about that. And of course, how terrestrial animals deal with it, like the kangaroo rat and things like that, which we covered. What type of vessel carries blood away from the heart? All right, see, there's a good one on there every now and then, right? Systemic circuit compared to pulmonary circuit. Systemic goes where?
Everywhere else.
Where does pulmonary go?
Lung.
Lungs. Here's the exact question we asked a while ago. Where's blood go when it leaves the right ventricle? It goes through pulmonary semilunar valve. Yep. Through the pulmonary artery and reaches the lungs. What is the blood vessel that actually nourishes the heart? Feeds the heart itself. Nope. That's the one that brings blood to the heart so it can keep circulating it, but it doesn't feed the heart. What is it? Nope. The vessel that feeds the heart. Nope. You're still dealing with circulation through the heart, but the heart has its own vessels that feed the muscle itself. What? Nope, it's going out of the heart to the vessels. Where this vessel starts is in the aorta. If there's your test question, you're gonna have to find that one. What?
The ventricle.
chambers in which the heart builds blood in so it can pump it somewhere. It's not feeding the heart tissue itself.
What was the question again?
It's always a good backup plan to stall.
I'm just asking.
What vessel feeds the heart? What vessel feeds the heart?
The sinus gnosis.
Is it the inferior bundle? And it's not pulmonary vein?
No,
Mine wasn't right.
no.
It's got nothing to do with the nose.
Smooth delivery of blood to the.
No, that's all electrical activity of the heart. This is a vessel to make sure the heart
Oh,
gets
that's a
oxygenated
chamber.
blood, it gets the first blood coming out of the left side. You've heard of this name, but you're thinking about circulating through the heart and through the body and not circulating within the heart muscle itself. Right ventricle? No. Same, that's the same. Right, left, atriums, none of
Coronary
those.
arteries?
Huh?
The coronary artery?
It's the coronary
I was
artery.
gonna say that.
Sure you were.
Hey, I just got it on Google and he said.
The internet never lies. The coronary, you ever heard somebody having a coronary? They use the term coronary because that's what gets blocked to cause heart attacks, is parts of the coronary arteries. Here's a good one. Oxygenated blood enters the heart at what point? Here's where you have to know circulation. Oxygenated blood will be coming from where? From the lungs, through,
Pulmonary vein?
entering into
The right, no, left.
left atrium. That's right.
So what,
It may take you a minute to think through it, but if you know that circulation, it's gonna pay off. If you halfway know it, it'll halfway pay off. So you pick and choose. I'm telling you what you need to
The
know.
right atrium takes it to the lungs, and then the left
If
atrium.
a person has a blood pressure of 150/90,
You're in trouble.
that's high, by the way. What does 150 represent? Systolic, which means contraction. The low number represents diastolic, which means relaxation, rest, which is something we don't get enough of, right? We say as we yawn. This one's on the study guide. How is oxygen carried through the system? On hemoglobin, bound to hemoglobin. Which kind of vessels only have one cell thick walls? They've gotta be itty bitty, teensy weensy.
The squamous?
No, what type of vessels in the body have a thickness of one cell? What'd you say? That's it, capillaries. Do we know what the really good respiratory system of invertebrates is? The most efficient system out there? It belongs to grasshoppers, some spiders, other insects. I said it's the most efficient of all.
It's around the tip of my tongue.
Better to know it now and learn it than to not know it or know it and forget it.
Something about squishing grasshoppers, all I can remember.
It really doesn't have anything to do with it, but
They take the air right into their side, right?
they do. What's it called? You remember you talking about their abdomen swelling and shrinking, and they got little spiracles along the sides, and air, it's a direct airflow system right straight to the tissues,
It's not part of it.
and it has a name. That's my question to you.
Is it on our study guide?
I know the answer.
I don't even, what was the question?
It should have been somewhere on the study guide. It's the name of the most efficient system, respiratory system found in vertebrates.
Brachial system.
Tracheal system. The tracheal system. Or kind of review question, where does protein start being digested? Stomach. Where does carbohydrates start being digested? Mouth. Anything else? Just put small intestine. Where does anything else finish? Just put small intestine. Okay? So you know those two. Everything else, just put small intestine.
Is the mouth how carbohydrates are absorbed? Or
There's no absorption in the mouth. They just start breaking them down in the mouth. They continue in the stomach. Everything is absorbed in the small intestine. You need to really spend some time on the functions of bile, besides just breaking down fat. What other purposes does it serve?
When's this test?
Bile, it's Thursday.
we just started for
Last thing Thursday.
after that?
We're gonna do the lab first. Be up there at 11 sharp. Jump on those crayfish and grasshoppers,
Yes.
beat them up really fast, come down here and take the test. Do what?
Does this test multiple choice or fill in the blank?
Yes. Mainly multiple choice. Maybe, I honestly, I don't remember any true false.
Do we have
I'd say multiple choice.
Do you have a bonus question?
Okay, so it's hyper. About the salt.
Hyperosmotic.
Hyperosmotic.
And what's the other?
Hypoosmotic. Hyper is two more, hypo is less. Now, there's a few questions that get a little more precise, like, what do we know about eosinophils, which is a type of white blood cell?
Do they fight off diseases?
Nope, that's a good guess though, when you think white blood cell. This one's more precise. We know it deals directly with
Eggs.
Keep this and you'll remember.
those would all be forms of diseases, wouldn't they? We already said they don't do diseases. They do allergies. Remember, it starts with an E, eosinophil, allergies. How can you forget that? Little mishap in spelling, but maybe it'll help you remember it now. All I can really say is, if you halfway study, expect about a 50.
Cause that's halfway.
If you think you're studied up, study some more. If you feel about 3/4 way studied up and you've got energy, you've not studied up for sure. You're looking at a 70 or 75. Will you or should you ever feel completely studied up?
No.
If you don't mind turning that thing off, that's my last video of this semester. Thank you. We will meet in the lab Thursday. We're gonna start the grasshopper and crayfish, and, there's no questions, but we have some charts to fill out identifying exterior features. We get that done, which really shouldn't take that long. You'll turn those papers back in to me and I'll hang on to them, and we'll finish that lab the next week with the shark and complete dissection of the shark, so. But we'll take the test shortly after. So, in theory, we ought to be out of here by 1, if we look it up. No,
Are they big grasshoppers?
they're called loopers.
So we can see stuff on them better
Yes.
than they're.
Is this late?
No, you said you could
It's
turn it in.
horribly late.
You said you could turn it in later.
I do not recall. Do you have a piece of paper I signed that?
No, but I heard.
Okay.
I thought it meant Thursday.
I have witnesses.
Do you have witnesses that heard that? Did anybody hear that? Hear me
On
say that she
Thursday,
turned
right?
that in
Yeah, I
late?
thought we could turn it in next lab.
Next lab? Okay.
Any specifics about Thursday? Oh, next lab.
Okay.
So, points off for being early.
Alright, sorry.
No, we don't need them this week or next week, but we'll need them for the frog and the pigeon later.
I gotta find something by then at Walmart Park, so.
Okay?
I was gonna do it all the time.
So
Everything about her.
that is awesome.
You could do a
She
spider
answered
one.
all of them.
Yeah, do a spider one, throw tarantulas in there, and, talk in specifics about poisonous ones. And then you can, there's a couple spiders in Australia that, like the funnel web spider and some of those, they're lethal. Throw a couple of those in there, and before you know it, they'll have bad dreams at night, arachnophobia.
Sounds good.
That's a good idea. You can't cover them all though, but you might cover different categories, like
Yeah,
there's,
they're pretty smooth.
there's fishing spiders, there's web spinning spiders, jumping spiders.
Yeah,
So, I mean, that kinda gives you some
I
categories,
feel like
and
I'm
that'd
just
be
like biology.
well,
Take that for like 3 years.
yeah.
like the black widow and brown recluse are both web spinning spiders.
I'm telling you, girl, but still, and I still like. You're not supposed to.
No.
I'm gonna ask her.
Oh, yeah.
The other day, I didn't really eat it, she did.
She took a whole mouse.
Surprisingly, she's working on it. It's down there a little hole. I was excited.
That's a big tarantula.
She's going to be dinner plate sized.
Really?
She's Goliath.
Oh my gosh.
Where'd you get her at?
Petco.
And so you're feeding her, and how big was she when you got her? Normal tarantula size?
Normal tarantula
I mean, if we see one run across the road that big, that's about par.
Oh, I have chills
gonna be
on my,
Supposedly in like
It's a
5
she?
years. Yeah, it's a she.
and you like tarantulas?
Hey, you wanna see something cool?
Oh my gosh.
You probably let out a cage and let it crawl on you, don't you?
I did when I first got her because she was just a fuzzy little brown thing and she was actually pretty chipper. Her chipper was good, but since she molted, she's really violent and
Getting
she's
cranky.
black and got red hairs now. She's
Oh.
much more scary looking than she was before.
gosh.
She gets out in the house, she'll give your parents a heart attack.
I might just get her.
She might-
Oh,
she might
is
be
this
one
thing
leg
still
at a
on?
time. It's not still, it shouldn't be still.
No, it's off. There's, okay.
We're gonna ask if we can do our little thingy on it.
I was gonna mention
Oh,
one
no,
thing.
go ahead, y'all finish talking.
You ever gonna get a male for it to reproduce?
I thought about selling them like that, but then I'm sure it would be really hard to do now.
You, well, Petco might get you a male, but here's the thing. She'll eat the male when she's done with him.
You think so?
And there's a possibility she'll eat him before she's done with him. If he doesn't get his deed done correctly, she's really pregnant.
She's really cranky.
So, yeah, that's the sole purpose of male tarantulas. Their purpose in life is to seek a female and reproduce, knowing they're gonna die. And they have never reproduced, yet she expects them to be perfect at it the first time.
And she has to eat them because she eats them nutrients.
I think she eats them because she's tired of it. All right, you served your purpose, we don't need you anymore. Let your competition be my food source now.
I gotta go. Goodbye.
What is it? What are you
Well,
gonna do?
I got a test, I gotta go. We wanna do the brain eating amoeba. Will that be okay?
Yeah,
That would be all right?
you can compare it to other amoebas that are not brain eating as well.
Is that how, we wasn't sure.
Just make sure you
Yeah.
can get enough time out of it.
Get enough time out of it? Right. for
You can
15
actually
minutes.
throw in some other infectious type protozoans too. Look at that, and you can get,
Okay.
you can sure buy some time out of that as well.
Okay.
which is-
types and also compare it to other.
Yeah, there's amoebas that don't cause any problems at all, but
Oh,
this
really?
one's vicious.
Yeah, I know.
And then there's one amoeba that causes dysentery, so,
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, that's vicious too.
yeah. But that,
Yeah, okay.
that protozoan concept's good.
That's okay. Okay, thank you.
See you later.
Okay. Are we starting in here today?